Keek on the mic, Keek on the mic, Keek on the mic, Keek on the mic. People, this the intro. Sacramento, California, born and raised. In Antelope is where I spend most of my days. Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Like always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you also follow me on all my social media platforms to stay connected with all Keek on the Mic news. So, Bears fans, the 2023 NFL Draft is right around the corner, and the Chicago Bears currently pick number 9 overall in the upcoming NFL Draft. And as we all know, Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears have a whole lot of holes to fill. And as it stands right now, Ryan Poles has a lot of work to do, and our current biggest needs are on the offensive line and defensive line. So today on Keek on the Mic, I wanted to come on here and give you a full 7-round Chicago Bears mock draft. Obviously, I'm also going to do some trades as well. So this is going to be a really exciting video for you guys to watch. And I hope you guys enjoy today's video of Keek on the Mic. And like always, as I'm going through the trades, as I'm going through all the picks, feel free to comment down below, engage with me. Let me know what you would do differently in my mock draft. I would love to hear from you guys. So let's get today's video Keek on the Mic started. So at the moment, the Bears' current picks are as follows. They have a first round pick at number 9 overall, 2 seconds, a third, 2 4s, 2 5s, and 2 7-round picks. So a good amount of picks for Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears to work with to continue to add to the roster and make the Chicago Bears football team a whole lot better. So I'm excited to see what Ryan Poles does in this NFL draft. So let's get this mock draft going. To begin this 7-round Chicago Bears mock draft here on Keek on the Mic, I start out with a trade. Yes, the Bears will receive pick number 10 and pick number 30 in the first round, and we would send the Philadelphia Eagles pick number 9, and we'd also send them our 3rd round pick, number 64 overall. So after the trade with the Eagles, the updated picks look like this. We now have 2 first-round picks at pick number 10 and 30, 2 second-round picks, 2 4s, 2 5s, and 2 7-round picks. So yes, we still have the same amount of picks, but now we have 2 very valuable picks in the first round. We did have to give up that 3rd round pick to kind of sweeten up the deal with the Philadelphia Eagles. But this would be a big-time trade for Ryan Poles, as we're able to get an extra first-round pick at the end of the first round. So now picking a player with my first pick, pick number 10 overall, I have the Chicago Bears selecting offensive tackle Paris Johnson Jr. out of Ohio State. You look at Paris Johnson Jr., he stands at 6'6", 313 pounds, and this would be the absolutely perfect way to start building up the trenches. We have a major hole on the offensive line, especially as it pertains to right tackle. Obviously, when you look at Paris Johnson Jr., he played left tackle at Ohio State, but he does have the versatility to play either left or right tackle. I would pencil him in as a huge upgrade at the right tackle position for the Chicago Bears. And when you look at Paris Johnson Jr., he is everything that Ryan Poles wants in an offensive lineman. He's big, he's athletic, he has the measurables to be a really good offensive tackle in the NFL. This would be a dream come true for Ryan Poles to be able to trade back, add an extra first round pick, and still get a day 1 starter in Paris Johnson Jr. I know a lot of people may come and say, well, he may not even be there. I feel like he will be there at 9 or 10, depending on what happens in this scenario for the Chicago Bears, whatever they decide to do. But this would be a big time add for the Chicago Bears to help bolster that offensive line that desperately needs some pieces to that group to hopefully keep Justin Fields upright in this upcoming season. So moving on to round 1, pick number 30. We obviously added pick number 30 at the end of the first round by trading back with the Philadelphia Eagles. In this pick, I have the Chicago Bears selecting defensive tackle Calijah Kancey out of Pittsburgh. He stands at 6'1", 281 pounds. And the first thing I want to say about Kancey is that people are comparing him to a guy like Aaron Donald. Obviously, Aaron Donald also came from Pittsburgh. They're saying that the measurables, what he did at the combine is very similar to Aaron Donald. No, I'm not saying that he's going to be like Aaron Donald. That is just what I'm hearing. Other analysts and scouts that's what they're saying about Calijah Kancey, that he is going to be the second coming of Aaron Donald. So we all know that the Chicago Bears need to build the trenches on the offensive line and the defensive line. But we all know that the defensive line may be in worse shape than the Chicago Bears offensive line. So this would be a huge pick for Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears. And first things first, Kancey is an ultra athletic defensive lineman. He ran a 4.67 at the combine. He has a vertical of 31.5 inches. The bench press is 425 pounds. So when you just look at that alone, you can understand that he is an ultra athletic guy, a guy that I feel that Ryan Poles will be all over. He is also extremely versatile. He can line up as a zero tech over the center. He can be your three technique defensive lineman, which we desperately need on the Chicago Bears defensive line, or he can even be a true edge. So having that versatility as defensive lineman will be very valuable for the Chicago Bears defensive line. So you can move him around at different spots and he will be just as effective, which is huge. Kancey is a truly a pass rushing specialist. He has many pass rushing moves and he can beat you with. So like I said, he can beat you as a true edge rusher. He can beat you at the three technique. He can also beat you at that zero tech as well over the center. So this guy will definitely be a problem at the next level. You know, the one big concern that people have on him is that his measurables, right? He's only 6'1". So they're saying that he's kind of small, but that's the same thing they said about Aaron Donald. And look what Aaron Donald's doing right now, right? So I'm not saying that he's going to be like Aaron Donald, but when you're considering about people saying, oh, he's too small, think about what Aaron Donald did and what he is still doing in the NFL today. I personally feel that Kancey can make an immediate impact to this very putrid Chicago Bears defensive line as a pass rusher, and his upside against the run as well is very high as well. This would be an outstanding pick for Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears to bolster this, to me, very bad Chicago Bears defensive line. Moving on to round 2, pick number 53, I have the Chicago Bears going trenches again, this time adding a center in Luke Wheatler out of Ohio State. He stands at 6'3", 303 pounds. And we all know this. Bears need a massive upgrade at the center position. So we took care of our right tackle and Paris Johnson Jr. Now I'm going back to the offensive line and adding a very quality center. And the one thing I like about Ohio State centers, there's a long history of very productive centers coming out of Ohio State. And Luke Wheatler is no different. And we all know that the Chicago Bears need upgrade. I don't know if anyone in Chicago or Bears fans in general are confident in either Lucas Patrick starting, or maybe you do like the idea of maybe Cody Whitehair starting. But if you guys are not comfortable with that, this will be an outstanding option to upgrade the center position. When you look at Wheatler, he has good measurables. He's an excellent athlete with elite speed. So obviously that's what Ryan Poles is looking for when he's looking to add to his offensive line. Last season, he was elite as both a run blocker and a pass protector, which is why people are so high. When you look at scouts are so high on Luke Wheatler, because he can do both at a very high level. This is a guy, when you look at him, he's a very smart player who possesses excellent hand placement, does a nice job getting to the second level, landing blocks in open space, plays with a mean streak in the run game, which is very critical, especially at the center position. You have to have that nasty edge to you, so I like that. And does a nice job generating a push at the initial point of attack. Bears fans, Luke Wheatler has the potential to be a very good center in the NFL for a long time. When I look at guys like Paris Johnson Jr. and Luke Wheatler, these two guys can be day one starters for the Chicago Bears offensive line. And even as rookies, I feel like they would make the Bears offensive line a whole lot better. So this would be an outstanding pick for the Chicago Bears. Moving on to the second round pick the Chicago Bears have at 61 overall. I have the Chicago Bears yet again going back to the trenches, this time getting edge rusher Will McDonald out of Iowa State. He stands at 6'3", 239 pounds. And when you look at McDonald, he's a crazy athlete with a very high motor. And the Chicago Bears desperately need to add to the defensive line, but they also need to create an edge presence. This is a guy that is a classic speed rusher with a lethal spin move. If you turn on his tape, that spin move gets a lot of offensive tackles in trouble, and I feel like it would be the same in the NFL. This guy was absolutely productive in college. When you look at his college stats, in 3 years at Iowa State, he had 122 tackles, 39 and a half tackles for loss, 33 sacks, and 9 forced fumbles. So along with this ability to get after the quarterback, he does a solid job setting the edge as well against the run. So he can do a little bit of both for you. Maybe you can move him a little bit around, but when you think of a guy like Will McDonald, he would be your true three down edge rusher, which would be critical. We need to add edge rushers. We need to add defensive line in general, but adding a productive edge rusher like Will McDonald that has played at a high level for many years at Iowa State would be critical for the Chicago Bears defensive line getting a whole lot better. So with his pass rushing skills and his speed and athletic skills, McDonald, to me, can make an impact right away for the Chicago Bears defensive line and make the Chicago Bears defensive line a whole lot better. So once again, I would be very happy with Will McDonald coming to the Chicago Bears. So now we're moving on to round 4, obviously with the trade with the Philadelphia Eagles earlier in the podcast. I sent away our 3rd round pick at 64 overall. So now we're moving on to round number 4 at pick 103. I have the Chicago Bears. I'm going away from the trenches, and now we're going to add some skill positions here and selecting running back Kendre Miller out of TCU. Stands at 5'11", 215 pounds. I know that we added D'Onta Foreman. I know that we have Khalil Herbert, but I can definitely see the Chicago Bears adding one more running back to the roster. And Miller would definitely fit that mold. When you look at Miller, he is a playmaker. Though he is not really that explosive when you look at his game, he's equally as dangerous in the catch and run situations. He stands out pretty well as a good blocker, picking up those blitzes, so that's very valuable as running back as well. This is a guy with a workhorse type of mentality, so when you lose a guy like David Montgomery that had that workhorse mentality, he was always going forward. This is exactly what Kendre Miller can do. To me, it seems to me that this would just be a cheaper option of trying to replace David Montgomery. So when you look at Miller's game, you look at Montgomery's game, they are very similar. So I could definitely see the Chicago Bears being interested in Miller because they were interested in re-signing David Montgomery. Obviously, it didn't work out. So adding another running back that is very similar to David Montgomery's game would be cool because I definitely liked what David Montgomery brought to the Chicago Bears. And Miller can bring the exact same thing to the Chicago Bears backfield. And I know the Chicago Bears want to do a running back by committee. So now you would have Miller, you would have D'Onta Foreman, and then you of course have Khalil Herbert probably as your running back 1 in Chicago. So I would be very content with that running back room in Chicago, and this would be a very good add for the Chicago Bears. So now I have another trade here in the Chicago Bears mock draft, and the first trade that I have is with the Las Vegas Raiders. I send the Raiders round 4, pick 133 overall, and the 7th round pick overall 258 overall, and the Bears would receive 2 5th round picks at 141 and 174. And then right after that Raiders trade, I trade down once again, so we have a double trade here, this time with the Kansas City Chiefs, sending a 5th round pick 136 overall, and the Bears receive a 5th round pick at 166, 2 6th round picks at 178 and 217, and a round 7 at 250 overall. So after the trade with both Raiders and the Chiefs, the updated picks look like this. And these 2 trades, I trade away one of my 4th, 5th, and 7th round picks. And in return, we received 3 5th round picks, 2 6th round picks, and a 7th round pick in return, giving me 13 total picks for the draft, which includes 4 picks in the 5th round, 2 picks in round 6, and 2 in round 7. So overall, I'm pleased with the haul of picks I received. And when we do those double trade downs, I think Ryan Poles is going to be aggressive. So that wouldn't surprise me at all if that when we get to like the middle rounds, like round 4 or 5, if he starts trying to trade down again to add some more picks. Because I know a lot of people are like, well, we need more picks in round 1, 2, and 3, which is necessarily probably true. Of course, you want to pick in the top 100, but when you look at picks in the rounds 4, 5, 6 as well, those are equally as important as well. So I could definitely see him being aggressive throughout the draft, adding more picks. But obviously with this double trade down, down. We now have 13 total picks. So now in this scenario, Ryan Poles would be able to add some quality talent in rounds 5, 6, and 7. So now let's get back to drafting. In round 5, pick 141, I have the Chicago Bears selecting cornerback Riley Moss out of Iowa. He stands at 6 foot, 193 pounds. And the first thing that I notice about Moss when you turn on the tape is that I love the physicality that Moss plays with. He possesses the size and strength to get physical with the receiver, but has the quick feet to mirror those receivers as well. So that's pretty cool value right there. He has excellent change of direction ability and does a nice job breaking down in space and makes the open field tackle, which is really valuable as a corner. I think Moss would fit perfectly with the secondary. I know that Ryan Poles considers the cornerback position like a premium position, right? And I could definitely see Ryan Poles adding at least one more corner in the NFL draft to try to complete that secondary room. Of course, you have Jaquan Brisker. Of course, you have Kyler Gordon. You have Eddie Jackson, right? So the secondary room for the Chicago Bears is pretty close to being completed, and Riley Moss would just add yet another stud to the secondary for the Chicago Bears. Now moving on to round 5, pick 148, I have the Chicago Bears going back to the trenches and adding yet another edge rusher in Isaiah McGuire out of Missouri. He stands at 6'4", 268 pounds. And when you look at McGuire, he's a bit of a raw prospect, but has a great motor, a quick first step, and is very fluid in his motions. He has a versatility he brings to the D line, and that is a bonus. So you can move around along defensive line. I think that's what Ryan Poles and the Bears will be looking for, is that versatility to move along defensive line, so they can beat the offense in different ways and just different ways to rush the passer as well. So that is a bonus when you add a guy like McGuire. He will need to be developed. So patient will be key when you look at a guy like McGuire. But I do trust the Chicago Bears coaching staff, of course, with Matt Eberflus running the show, to develop a guy like McGuire. And obviously, this is what Ryan Poles wants to do, is build for the draft and develop their own talent. But at 6'4", he has a quick burst. He has good upper body strength, and he's just naturally explosive with decent get off speed. So I would definitely love to bring a guy like McGuire to Chicago and just see what happens and just develop him the right way. Moving on to my next round 5 pick at 166 overall, I have the Chicago Bears once again adding to the defensive line and adding defensive tackle Colby Wooden. I'm at Auburn. He stands at 6'4", 273 pounds. When you look at Wooden, he is just an absolute technician with a high motor. He has a variety of moves and shows good use of his hands. He plays with violence and quickness, which I like, and possesses a good motor. As a pass rusher, he shows fluid athleticism and flexibility to bend the edge. He can beat you off the edge or inside as a pass rusher. Once again, adding a guy that has versatility that can play along the defensive line, which is critical in today's NFL. Wooden would provide just solid depth for the Chicago Bears defensive line, because of course we need to try to find quality starters, but having good depth as well behind our starters is going to be crucial. And that's exactly what he would bring to the Chicago Bears. So overall, this would be a really good pickup for the Chicago Bears defensive line. Moving on to another 5th round pick at pick 174 overall, I have the Chicago Bears selecting offensive tackle Jackson Kirkland out of Washington. He stands at 6'6", 321 pounds. And the first thing I want to bring up about Kirkland is that he did go to Jesuit High School, which is right around the corner from where I'm from. So he's from Sacramento, California. So that's really cool. That he's going to be added in today's video. Kirkland has showcased to be very good in pass protection. Last year in 9 games, he played a total of 658 snaps and allowed 5 QB hurries, 2 quarterback hits, and no sacks. Even though Kirkland is listed as offensive tackle, he also has versatility because he can play at guard as well. So he has that versatility to play at both spots. And the stats that I just mentioned, that was his stats playing guard at Washington. So that's pretty neat. And when I look at Kirkland, I think between his size, he has good athleticism, right? And he's a good pass protector. I think he, once again, when you look at a guy like Colby Wooden on a defense line, this will offer good source of depth in terms of offensive linemen as well. So Kirkland would be a really good add for the Chicago Bears. He grades out very nicely among the scouts. So this would be a good addition to the Chicago Bears offensive line. So with these last 4 picks, Bears fans, I am not going to go in deep detail. I'm just going to go ahead and put on the screen of who I picked and let you know who I picked, and just basically how I did it was I went just best player available. So we have 2 6th-round picks and 2 7th-round picks. I'll go ahead and list those players now. Round 6, 178 out of Chicago Bears, selecting the wide receiver Demario Douglas out of Liberty, 5'8", 179 pounds. In round 6, 217 overall, I have the Chicago Bears selecting linebacker Cam Jones out of Indiana, stands at 6'1", 226 pounds. With my first 7th-round pick, 218th overall, I have the Chicago Bears selecting defensive tackle Jalen Redmond out of Oklahoma, 6'2", 291 pounds. With my final pick and round 7, pick number 250, I have the Chicago Bears selecting tight end Ben Sims out of Baylor. He stands at 6'5", 254 pounds. So those were just the guys that just were the best player available. I didn't really want to go in deep detail about those guys, but how I did it when I was doing my mock draft, those were just the best players on my draft board. So overall, that concludes my full Chicago Bears 7th-round mock draft with trades. And overall, Bears fans, I am very happy with the haul of players I got in this mock draft. I felt like first and foremost, I built the trenches. We all know that the Chicago Bears desperately need to build the offensive line and the defensive line. And I feel like I added a lot of quality young guys that can come in and be day one starters, or at least contribute day one for the Chicago Bears, because Ryan Poles knows that he has to hit on a lot of these draft picks, especially in the first couple of rounds. These guys have to come in and be ready to play. If we're talking about maybe like 5th or 6th round, it's okay that those guys need to be developed a little bit. But when I'm talking about rounds 1, 2, and possibly even 3, these guys need to be day one starters. And when I look at my first 4 picks, and I'll put them on the board now once again so you guys can see my full draft haul, I truly feel that guys like Paris Johnson Jr., Luke Weebler, right? Will McDonald, Kalijah Kancey, these guys can come in and be day one starters for the Chicago Bears and really help our football team win, right? So I'm pleased with the haul of draft picks I got, and I'm pleased with the haul of players I got. But before I let you guys go, I want you guys to give me a solid grade on how you guys think I did on this Chicago Bears mock draft. Let me know down below in the comment section. Like I said, Bears fans, the NFL draft is getting closer and closer, and I'm super excited to officially see what Ryan Poles does. I'm really confident in where he has his football team headed. We should be excited as a fan base, because I think the Chicago Bears are finally in good hands. But I'm just super excited for the NFL draft and see who we add to the Chicago Bears roster. So before I let you guys go, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Kick on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, back for all new Bears podcasts right here on Kick on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it.